Who's next?
Hey, how y'all doing? Back again, another great episode of the Effective Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Jeremy Robinson. Today, we have someone special. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Marleen Salters.
Yes, indeed. So with that being said, how are you doing mentally, physically, and emotionally?
I am mentally stable, physically in the best shape I've been in a very long time,
Okay.
and emotionally at peace.
I love it. Okay, now. Yeah. All right, now thank you so much for visiting us and coming to the podcast on this great Sunday.
Yeah.
I would say. So my first question, take us back a little bit to before we met, because I did not know you like that.
Yeah.
But I knew of you.
Yeah. In passing.
Indeed.
That's how it always is.
Yes, it's crazy. That's why we be knowing that the campus is actually bigger than we think it is.
Yeah.
But I would say, like, what made you want to come to Clark Atlanta University for undergrad, and how was your experience?
So it's really funny. So I'm originally from Kentucky. I did not know anything about HBCUs. I didn't know. It just wasn't talked about growing up. But my dad knew I wanted to major in psychology, and he was like, you know what? Clark Atlanta has a good psychology program, so why don't you apply for there? And at the time, I was in a headspace of, oh my gosh, I just want to leave Kentucky. Like, I need to venture out, see something new, and further my education. And Clark Atlanta accepted me. We did orientation and a tour, and I really fell in love with the school. It was like a sense of community, and it was also a culture shock, just going from being in Kentucky where you're in a more diverse setting to being around people that look like you and, you all can relate. It just felt really good.
It's amazing. I felt the same way too. It felt like home. Like some weird way.
Like a big family reunion.
Yeah. And I was like, it kept feeling like that. Even when the classes started, even when it was tough, it still felt like home. And you meet so many cool people while you're there, and also once you leave, you're like, you went to Clark?
Yeah.
Or you went to school in the AUC? And it's like real cool to see that community. And I would say, with that community, how was it transitioning to go to Mercer for grad school? How was that?
Yeah, that was a complete shift. It was like day and night, honestly. Like going from an HBCU, then PWI, which I'm glad I was able to experience both schools. But I definitely would say graduate school was more like, okay, like the party's over. Let's get focused. Let's lock in. And I think, whereas at Clark Atlanta, I had built this community going into Mercer. It was almost as if I was kind of alone, But I think I was just more focused, if anything. And it really allowed me to get deeper into my field. And I was able to do internship at a private practice. And that kind of, set me up for being in a private practice and becoming a therapist. So it's definitely a switch, but I'm grateful for both opportunities and experiences.
That's amazing. That's amazing. You was a hell of a track star. I've seen you been to some meets. And I would say you all were okay, at Clark, as you know.
Yeah,
what got you into water run track, and making that transition?
It's so funny. I never ran track a day in my life. Not elementary school, middle school, high school, none of that. I was playing field hockey back in Kentucky.
Okay, now.
And someone that was on the men's track team, when they had a men's track team, they're like, you should come run, like join the team. And I was like, well, I never ran track before. So I was like, you know what, I want to get involved. At the time, I wasn't really involved in any organizations or just doing any other activities outside of class. So I went to Coach Page and I was like, hey, I'm interested in joining the team. And she's like, well, have you ever ran before? I was like, I played field hockey. And she was like, well, field hockey is a little different from track.
Right.
So I was like, okay. So she was like, I'll tell you what, I'll give you 2 weeks. You see if you make it through. And if so, you're on the team. When I say she ran me so much within those first 2 weeks. I was like, I don't know if I can do this. But I did. I saw it through. And I was blessed. She gave me a scholarship all 4 years. And
okay.
Yeah, here we are today.
Look at you. So I saw you already was an athlete then, because to make that transition to track. And you saying you had to run, but at the end of the day, you got a scholarship.
I did. And that was so unexpected too. Like, I'm really grateful, for joining the track team at Clark Atlanta, because it created, discipline. And it really, I don't know, it's just different, going from a sport that you're familiar with to transitioning into another sport that's completely different, having to learn all the rules, the regulations, getting into your blocks, like getting into a routine before you start each race. It was really different, but definitely created some really great friendships with that, and just really great experiences overall.
That's amazing. And one last thing I just thought about too. Clark had done that to a lot of athletes where they wasn't in that sport. Like he's a football player now. He never played football.
Really?
Not in high school, and he now is like probably going to the CFL probably because he did real good these last couple of years. He played football. Then there's a young lady that played. She played lacrosse. She came to Clark and played basketball. And I'm like, how you just...
I know.
So it's like, what did they do? And I'm like, hey, they know what they're doing. Somewhere, they know what they're doing.
And I think it's about the player too, your determination and your will to keep going. Because there's been plenty of times I was like, Lord, I don't know if I can keep doing this, but I'm grateful through it all. I stuck it out.
That's good. So I say, what is your it factor? Why do you do what you do?
That's a good question. My it factor, I would say, is serving others and just being in the mental health field. It's a fulfilling fulfillment when you get to see where somebody once was when they first started to, you all doing the work and processing through traumas and just different things that they're dealing with in life, and just to see them overcome it and be able to say like, oh, I learned X, Y, and Z while we were doing the work together, or just hearing different people's stories. I think that's what really, got me interested in just, becoming in the mental health field and being a therapist, is just listening to people's backgrounds, their upbringings, and just realizing like, we can all come together even though we're different.
Got you. I love that. So I'll say, who is Marleen outside of all you are known for?
That's a really good question. The first few things that come to mind would be, one, I'm a daughter. I'm a friend, a sister, someone who is compassionate while she's at work, outside of work, someone who is still identifying who she is and, different characteristics or attributes that, make Marleen who she is. So, yeah, I would say I'm still learning that as well.
Okay, now, I'll say, tell us more about the Healing Suite LLC and its importance to this world, not just Atlanta.
Okay. So, when I was in my senior year of grad school, I was in the process of looking for different private practices that I wanted to work for, and I came across the Healing Suite, and the owner's name is CEO Pierce, and she is also a CAU alumni. So I reached out to her, and we connected, and she hired me, and I was one of her first clinicians at the private practice, and it's Black owned, all women, and I love that. And I specialize in anxiety, depression, stress, trauma, self-esteem, and the importance of it is just helping people heal through their journeys. And this is the Healing Suite. But just I'm really helping people, become the best version of themselves or getting to that place.
I love that. And I see that you're already doing that, because even from us, I already actually know who's going out having fun and stuff. It's just how you carry yourself. I was like, I wish she can be my therapist.
Yeah.
I definitely think she would help me, and stuff like that. And I needed that because I had therapy before. Yeah. And looking for a new one, I was like, man, I'm going to ask her one of these days. Yeah. Because I love therapy, man. I think everybody should try it and do it because it opens us up to be a better for ourselves and for others.
Yeah, and it's kind of, I always tell people, even when they come to me for a consultation, therapy, and finding a therapist is like dating. Like, you have to sometimes, do your research or kind of schedule these different consultations just to see what would be a good fit for you. So,
definitely. And I'd say, what inspired you to start your sibling law support group? And how in your situation of losing and loss, how has it shaped your calling?
Yeah, so back in September 1st, 2022, my brother passed at our childhood home in Kentucky. My mom found him, and it was one of those things that it just felt like so surreal. It was unexpected, and I think, no one really tells you how to grieve when things get silent, far as, the phone calls, decreasing, or the check-ins decreasing, or just, after the funeral and, all the memorial services are over, like, how do you still go through life without this person, or how are you supposed to navigate? And I know at the time, that was probably one of the most painful things that I've ever experienced. And I was just like, you know what, like, I know he's not physically on this earth, but I want to live intentionally and, take my life a little bit more serious. Not that I wasn't, but I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, death has no age limit. And my brother died when he was 33, so that really kind of put the fuel under the fire for me, like, okay, like, let's make something out of our life. So I ended up adopting a highway after him. So yearly, me and my family or friends will come together and host cleanups. But then I was like, you know what? I want to create a space for people who either lost their siblings or even exchanged siblings, and, just share our experiences and how we cope and just kind of support one another. So I came up with Edward's Corner because my brother's name was Edward. And it just kind of took off. And at first I was like, okay, I'm just going to do it for a few months and just see how it goes. But then the feedback that I was getting was like, no, like, this is very helpful. I look forward to this once a month. And it's really cool to see, people from all over. I even got someone from the UK one time. I don't even know how he found me, but he found me. And it's just really cool, just even though everyone has maybe lost their siblings in different ways and circumstances, but we can all come together and, share how we grieved or just share similar experiences. And it's just kind of like a sense of healing for me as well, because a lot of times it's like you kind of just keep going through life, and yeah, it's still in the back of your mind, or some moments I grieve in private, but just having the space and just kind of honoring him, and it's like a sense of, I'm not going to forget this person, like, I'm going to continue to, like, put on his legacy. So yeah.
I love that. Now I'll say, before we do move on, something I did think about as well. Before everything, when you got to Clark, you majored in psychology, what made you say, I want to work as a mental health therapist, and, like, say you want to make that transition into?
Yeah. So I always knew that I was interested in just how the brain functions and just how the mind works, or why people behave the way they do or make the choices and decisions that they make. And so in high school, I believe I took a psychology class, and I was like, okay, I think this is for me. And then I watched my dad. He's an addictions counselor.
Okay.
And he worked at the Potter House. I want to say it's somewhere located in Georgia. And I would visit him, like, here and there, and I would just see the impact that he had on men. And, like, the men would come into his office and just brag about, like, how impactful he's been, or just how helpful. And then he transitioned to Atlanta Mission, which is located downtown. He doesn't work there anymore, but when he did, I would visit him as well. And same thing, and just seeing, the connections and the rapport that he had with these people, I was like, I want that same impact. Rather that's, dealing with mental health, or I just knew I wanted to help people or serve people. So that's where I kind of got inspired with that. And then, yeah.
I love that. And I'll say, in your opinion, what are some of the, I would say, misconceptions about therapy or mental health in our community?
Yeah, I would say, one, I can speak on my personal experience growing up. I mean, I had a pretty, happy childhood, but we didn't really talk about mental health or anxiety or depression. That was kind of like a foreign thing. And I can't really remember if we talked a lot about it in school. I know we would have, like, suicide awareness month or something along those terms where we would mention it. But I think, the main thing was go to church. And I go to church. Definitely. And I turn to God and stuff, but I think, that was always like, you just go to church. That's it. It wasn't, go to therapy or, get additional help. It was always go to church. That was always the main thing. And I think, sometimes people will steer away from therapy, or people think, like, only crazy people go to therapy. And it's like, no, people who just want to, work through some things or heal through some things, like, that's why they're choosing to go to therapy. Or it's not going to work, like, why am I paying to talk to someone? But sometimes, you may not realize certain things or look at things in a certain perspective without having that outside perspective or voice. And I think there's a lot of different things, but I will say mental health has came a long way, and I think people are taking it more serious because life be lifing.
Yes.
People be going through stuff, and it's not easy, to kind of hold it all on your shoulder, and sometimes you need that additional support. And then sometimes, people come to therapy and they just want somebody to listen to them. Yeah. And they just want someone who has an unbiased perspective of them because, yes, go to your friends, family, but sometimes that isn't always a safe space for people. And I think, even if you tried it, even if you don't know what you're necessarily going to therapy for, you'll be surprised. There's certain things that could have been, stemming or bothering you or triggering you that you weren't even aware of. So.
You're definitely right about it, because, from the first time we going, I'm just going to try it, A frat brother sent it to me, I'm cool. And after a few months of us getting together, I started seeing things, and, she started helping me out with stuff that I thought was small things that I was like, why do I resort to anger? Or why do I do this? And she taught me how, to control and know more about my emotions. Yeah. And I tell some of my, especially male friends, I always feel like women just have certain things intact, but still need therapy, don't get me wrong. Yeah. But with men, I think they're scared of it, so I thank God that I'm able to, speak on it. And I interview therapists and people that's in the mental health field to be able to say, hey, go talk to her. Try it, man. Don't just knock it, because I wish it was once I was in her sessions, I was like, I wish I was doing this when I was a teenager. Yeah. Imagine where I would be like.
But I even think there's a stigma with men showing emotions or being, you're supposed to be tough. And, I know some people who grew up with, their dad saying you're supposed to be a certain way or you're supposed to act like a man. So I think that's hard to, be in a space to open up and really articulate your emotions and really be vulnerable when you've been told all these things growing up. So
you're right about that. I had to realize what this man up means. Never knew what that mean. And uncles used to say it, because I grew up in a single parent home, so uncles and cousins, people used to say it, and it got to a point to where I was like, what does man up mean? Because I'm in a very tough situation and I don't know what that means. And I was able to have people that was like, hey, try it. Yeah. You never know what's going to happen, and thank God I have, and they make me want to go back. So.
Yeah, and that's good, and showing emotions doesn't make you less than a person. No. It just makes you human.
Yeah. Definitely. I'll say only a few more questions. Yeah. I would say, when I was thinking of this question, I said, I always ask it, but I try to make sure I frame it to the people that I'm asking. I say, when it's all said and done, what would you like to be remembered for?
That's a good question. I would say compassion. Being a compassionate person to, myself, others, someone who is kind and hardworking and willing to do the work for themselves and others, I know some people, they want to be known for being famous, wealthy, but I really just want to be known for, you know what, Marleen, when she could, and she was always, considerate of others, and, was a confidant to others, or just, created a safe space for people to come and either confide in or hang out with, just whatever. So really just more on the compassion and just serving.
I love that. And I know some days your job could get tough because of what you work in. How do you decompress from that time, or how do you have an outlet towards it?
Yeah, and I think if anything this year, this is kind of, I'm going into almost 3 years of being, in the mental health field, or if not longer. But I feel like this year I've really had to identify, what are some self-care or just coping skills for myself when it comes to decompressing after a long day, because you hear a lot of dark things in therapy, or just, I'm also a clinical intake associate, so I do clinical assessments, and a lot of that can drain your energy. So I know for me, this might sound a little, I don't know, but I will sit in silence after a long day. I've never valued the power of silence so much being in this field until now. I also know, when I have breaks, there's a park that I like to go to. So some days I may run around the park, or I may just sit there, just having some type of, being in some type of nature, or the sun touching my face. And also I have my own therapist. You know, they say a therapist needs a therapist. It's true. You know, just making sure that we're okay in here.
Yes.
So I definitely have been learning, you know, different things that kind of are release for me. And I also do like cycling or working out. Like that's also a good release for me to decompress.
I say, what's next? I know you got you getting your levels up with mental health. So now you're an associate.
Yeah. So right now I
Big
have
dog.
my,
Congratulations to
thank
you. Yes, indeed.
I have my associate license in counseling. So right now we're working on the 3,000 hour aspect of it. So hopefully by next year I'll have my full license, and I think I might want to, you know, work underneath maybe a little bit and just kind of perfect my craft. And then the goal is to open my own private practice. So yeah, we're in the works. And then also too, you know, maybe further speaking engagements, or I know I want to attend more mental health conferences just to get different perspectives and learn different things and attend workshops. So it's always constant learning, I guess. It's a continuous of learning things.
Definitely. I love that. And I'll say, do you have any open topic that you want to speak on? Did you think on any? And if not, you cool. It's good.
Let's see. I don't know. I think if anything, the main thing that comes to mind is setting boundaries. And learning how to say no without explanation. I think that can be very hard for people. And even for me sometimes. But I think, you know, just really my main thing this year is protecting my peace.
Yes, I'm with you on that. And that's a great topic because I have learned over the years how to say no to friends, family, brothers, people, all type of people. And at first it used to hurt, and then we'll talk about it. Then I'll talk about it with friends. I'm like, dang, I don't know how to do this. But after a while I started saying that, I started to see how people would take it. Some people took it, how they take it. Some people took it like, thank you. Okay, man, I understand. And also, like you said, with boundaries, I have learned how, like, we did a trip this week. I know I had this one show, and I was like, I'm going to take my time to organize. I ain't going to rush to try to do this, have this way, and it's going to be good, you know. And also take time to myself. I thank God for the job I have, so I can, you know, be able to do work from home, but also take times. There's times out the day that my boss said it so many times to me when I first started, like, make sure you take a break. Wait, I do it. I walk outside.
Yeah, most definitely. I definitely advocate for that.
Indeed, because you got to have life boundaries because, like you said, it's a lot going on in the world, but it's also a lot that we can control and stuff like that.
Yeah. What do you think was your turning point when you're like, okay, I need to say no, or I need to sit this out?
I started seeing I was overdoing stuff. Like, I'll tell people, like, I can help you out. I'm going to do this, then I can give you this advice and this, and then I start realizing, like, if I needed something, I cannot call y'all people, and I don't expect people to be me.
Of course not.
But let me say no.
Yeah.
And to family, friends, I was like, I gotta treat people the same.
Yeah.
I can't just, and then I also had to learn how to take care of Jeremy so I could be the best husband, the best podcaster, the best work person in tech, like, so that I can take time to rest, because you'll burn yourself out.
Yeah, and I've definitely, you know, I feel like within the past few months I was experiencing burnout, and you know, I've learned now, you know, taking on everyone's, you know, mental health issues sometimes, like that can be, it can feel really heavy. And what I do with friends or family, I'm like, hey, look, I just don't have the mental capacity today. Or hey, if you want to send me a voice audio, or you want to text me, and when I'm able to respond, I will, but today I just have to take time for myself. Or even, I know for me, even with working, I'll take a mental health day just to kind of clear my mind, because if you don't and you just constantly keep going, my dad always tells me, he's like, Marleen, you can't expect to put 100% in everything and you're not taking care of yourself. Like, something has to give. And I think that's important to recognize, and just also listen to your body, like, okay, how are we feeling? So I know for me it's definitely a challenge, because, you know, you want to be there for everyone. You want everyone to, you know, talk to you or feel like they're being supported, but also you have to pour back into yourself, or your cup is going to be empty. You're
right about that. And I'm thankful for Caleb, because that's one person I know, Courtney pointed out to me, and my best friend. But Caleb, we always get on the phone, we'll talk about it. And I'm like, how you doing?
Yeah.
You all right?
Yeah.
And I say he's one man that I know that we can talk about all type of stuff, and then be like, hey, you good?
Yeah.
All right, cool. And we don't call each other, like, not knocking other people, but yeah, this happened today, brother. Like dropping something on
Yeah.
people. I can't at 30. I can't at 25. I thought I could take it. At 30, I can't take it.
Yeah, and even asking, where your friend is at, like, hey, before I dump on you, do you have the capacity for it? Are you doing all right? Because I know even there's been times where my friends have had to correct me, or I've had to say, hey, hold on. So I think having friends that understand where you're at that time and not taking it in offense, I think that's also really important, because it's not that we don't want to hear you. But like I said earlier, life be life.
They do.
Some days I want to talk to nobody. So yeah.
I love that. That's a good topic. And I'll say, do you have any questions for me?
So with your podcast, where would you like to go from here in the future? Or where do you see your podcast in the future?
Now I just see it keep transitioning to the point of bringing people like yourself on. That's always going to be the main goal. But to also be able to start having certain events that I spoke on that I want to do. I have done some in the past. So getting back to that, being able to get back to people, get back to the community. But also just be able to bring on people that once I bring them on, we can follow up and I can get them together to kind of speak to some of the things, because what's going on in the world is kind of crazy with youth. Yeah. And I want youth to see that a lot of people are in the mental health field. Yeah. It's athletes, it's doctors, it's all type of people that I bring on my show that they can meet and be able to talk to and have. It's like not only just a mentor, but somebody to reach out to when it comes that time when they're trying to figure out for college. So me going to speak at Morehouse a few weeks ago kind of changed my perspective on saying, dang, these young men actually do need someone. Because that's what they was asking, like, dang, thank you, man. I've seen this person on your show. I've seen this. And I want to do that. And it's like, okay, so that's good, but I need to follow up on do my part to keep people coming on, but also put an event together, even if it's a few people, to speak on what they do and how they got there. Yeah. Because I think a lot of our young people are not seeing us or seeing what we do, and it deters them from thinking that they can do it. So.
And I feel like, actually having people who've already done it, it gives them that sense of hope, because I know even as I'm in the field and I'm speaking to maybe a teenager or a young adult, and they're like, oh my gosh, it's so good to see someone like me, like you look just like me, and you're out here in this profession, like wow, I'm like, yes girl, yes. So yeah, I like that. I think that would be really dope.
So yeah, keep doing that, man. That's my main thing.
Okay, I'll be on the lookout for that. I support you.
Thanks. So that's it.
Well, thank you for having me.